pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have another page 112 tag, the totally blind version. If you're not familiar with this tag or its blind version, please check out the show notes. I'm not going to explain it in detail. One of my subscribers and frequent commenter on my channel and other BookTube channels, Azelia Lopez, has sent me 3 page 112. She's typed them up very nicely. She told me not to worry if I didn't like any of these books. She said, they're just books. I have not even so much as read them. So let's get started. Book number 1. I was inside a woman whose name I cannot remember, but she stopped me complaining of thirst. But there's wine right here. Can you get some ice? Who puts ice in wine? I do, and there's other things I'll do too, if only you'll get some ice. I run out naked and giggling. It's 5 in the morning. Tiptoe down the corridor like wee Willie Winkle. The dead have a smell, but so does the killer. My death took 2, one to demand it and the other to make it so. Before I flew over the banister there was lemons, grass, and wet dirt, the crunch of a footstep on floors clean as mirrors. I am in the house of the man that killed me. I have never smelled myself on his hands, just the linger of old death. Not a stench, but the memory of it, the iron tinge on the blood of stale kill, the sweet stinking lure of a body dead 5 days. In the world of this living he is a mature man now, not caring that he smells like he stumbled upon somebody else's money, like expensive suits that used to belong to someone else. Except he is not wearing a suit. I was naked when they found me, and he is naked as I find him. His belly is rounder, his back ripples fat as he thrusts up and down, and he'll have to dye the back of his head again. His body hits her in a sweaty slap, slap, slap. He grunts on top of her, the first runner-up he married. The white bed is a whirlpool. She notices that he is not stopping, and taps him on the shoulder. His head is in the pillow, but he's holding her down. She's in jail and knows it, so she taps him again. He grunts, and she pushes him. You know I don't want to get pregnant, you son of a bitch. He plops his weight on her until he comes, and blows his breath all out in the room. Oh my goodness! Well, that's some lively writing. The writing, I think, is just fantastic. I'm not sure if I like the story, but putting that aside, I am deeply impressed by the writing. I was inside that opening line. I was inside a woman whose name I cannot remember, but she stopped me complaining of thirst. I don't really understand what's going on here, but again, the point of a page 112 tag or evaluation is not to make sense of what's going on. Often it doesn't make sense. This is a ghost, so that's the first thing that's a bit of just a personal turn-off, but no matter. Maybe it would be okay. So he's inside the woman. Is it the woman? The same woman that the man, his murderer, is having sweaty slap, slap, slap sex with? That I'm confused about. And there's no quotation marks, which I kind of like in my fiction, but coming blind to a page 112, I'm not sure who he's talking to or who's speaking. The first paragraph, the I is, I don't know who the I is. It's presumably a man, and the woman is thirsty. She says she wants some ice with her wine, and he says, who puts ice in wine? So I run out naked and giggling. It's 5 in the morning. So that I is the murderer of the man in the second paragraph? So now I'm thinking that the I of the first paragraph is the murderer, and then it's a new I in the second paragraph. I am in the house of the man that killed me. That's the victim, the ghost, the previous victim, because he sees the naked man. So in the first paragraph, I run out naked and giggling, and then in the second paragraph, he is naked as I find him. He is not wearing a suit. Blah, blah, blah. I think those are 2 narrators within the space of 2 paragraphs. Anyway, I'm very curious. I don't know. I can't sort it out. It's fascinating. I have many questions. So I'm very curious about this one. It sounds like a really kind of nasty, harsh story about bad people, and maybe not my kind of story. There's no love, there's no puppy dogs or red roses anywhere in sight. And I'm caricaturing myself. It sounds like a tough macho story, and about murder. Maybe it won't be for me, but the writing is very appealing, so I am not ruling anything out. That's a very strong page 112. Book number 2. Hello, dear. Have a nice evening? What time is it? She's wide awake. I swear she doesn't take a sleeping pill on the evenings I'm out. She takes Benzedrine instead. Very nice, thanks. It's just 12. Oh, you are a Cinderella, aren't you? Mother cries with a caroling laugh. This coyness, with its concealed undercoat, the tint of malice, for some reason shocks me. But when I turn on her light, I see she's frightened. Why? Her face has a blanched almond look, whitely wrinkled, unnaturally soft. What's the matter? Are you all right? Oh, yes, dear, perfectly all right. A little restless, perhaps, that's all. Too much bridge, maybe? I wouldn't have thought that, she says petulantly, although the girls did think it was a little odd, your going off like that, not that they actually said anything. Then, pinchingly, like a bee sting, was it a party, Rachel? No, why would you think so? Oh, nothing, it's just that your breath is, you know. I suppose I'm a little more sensitive to that particular smell than most people. I had precisely 2 drinks, if you want to know. Nick took me to his house to meet his family. Why did I say that? Why did I have to? She'll find out, likely, and then she'll be more upset than if I told her straight out. She won't find out. How could she? Her face had gone even more wan and sunken. That one doesn't do much for me, but I don't think I have any particular complaints about it. It just happens to be a passage of dialogue, and I am realizing, and I think somebody commented recently on one of my videos, and it really struck me and resonated with kind of where I'm finding myself. I don't like very much dialogue in my fiction, and so it's really hard for me to judge this piece of fiction by this dialogue heavy passage. There's nothing wrong with the dialogue. It's not, I don't see it as bad writing. It's just there's not very much prose here other than dialogue for me to evaluate. So I was surprised that it was a woman. I don't know why that it was Rachel. So was it a party Rachel? And I assumed at very first that it was a sleeping wife greeting her husband coming home from somewhere, but no, it's a mother, and her daughter is Rachel. She seems like an adult daughter, at least teenage, but probably older than that. I guess I'm curious about their relationship, but to be honest, not very. This one doesn't draw me in. I think the writing is fine. There's no turn of phrase that made me go, wow, but neither was there anything that seemed to be bad writing either. It was just a very average piece of dialogue-heavy prose for me. It didn't really do much for me. So. And book number 3. He stood on the road about a mile ahead, a dot in the glazed powder. I watched him through the glass and slowed, but it was only a matter of seconds before I reached him and whatever he had to say to me. This is no flat country, except in one place where the paved road to Fort Kent evens out over a couple of miles. And in the normal course of events, if you are out on a journey and happen to see someone walking, you have the time to prepare a conversation, if you have a mind for one, or a salute if it is to be a passing without words. Any questions are proper and thoughtful and answered in kind. Yes, closer now, and there he was for definite. He appeared to face in my direction as he saw my truck approach. I lowered the window with my left hand as I slowed, wondering what sort of conversation was to be had today, but I did not really have time to come to terms with what he might be doing out here in the middle of nowhere. My decision to take a drive was sudden, and even a random talk might demonstrate that, why I was driving, where I was going. Now, in the last 50 yards, the windshield wipers pushed aside the spray of washer fluid, and he stood clearer, a man in a police jacket, his free hand on a waist holster, a revolver. I saw the other hand rise again and unfurl into an arm. This fellow wanted me to stop. Okay, I quite like that. It's interesting. I'm very curious about the situation. There's reference to a paved road to Fort Kent, so that makes me think military. Is the narrator in the military? He's out for a drive. He sees somebody in the distance who ends up being a cop. He has time to prepare what he wants to say, which that part I thought was quite interesting. And it seems like the narrator has a secret, or he doesn't want to reveal much. He made a sudden decision to take a drive, and even a random talk might demonstrate that, why I was driving, where I was going, and it seems like he doesn't want to reveal that. Yeah, I'm curious. I think the writing is really fine. There's really not much to go on here, but I am curious about it, and the writing intrigues me. That's all I have to say about book number 3. So my obvious choice is book number 1. The writing is really great. I have many questions about what's going on, and do we have 2 narrators within the space of 2 paragraphs, or could there be an alternate explanation that has totally gone over my head? This is page 112, so it's in the middle of a much larger story, so I would definitely, especially once I find out more about this book, this could be a book that I might enjoy. I certainly enjoyed the writing. So that's my first choice. My second choice would be book number 3. It was quite a short, it felt like a really short page. Maybe it was not a full page, but the writing was good. The scene, such as it was quite mysterious. My last pick would be book number 2, really only because it's so dialogue rich, and I don't tend to go for, at this stage, right now, maybe this week, I don't know, but I tend to find this much dialogue on one page a turn off. And I want to think more about that and maybe have more to say about that later. But for that reason, that would be my last choice. So I have no idea what these books are, and now we are going to find out. Oh, how interesting. So the first one is a book that I very much want to read, and I think maybe even this year. And that was my first pick. It's the Booker Prize winning A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. How interesting. So yeah, I really like the writing, and so now I can understand that's got a murder obviously in it, or attempted murder. I don't really know the story in depth. That's why I need to read the book. But I really enjoyed the writing. I know there's a wide variety of writing styles. A lot of it is written in Jamaican patois, which might be a challenge to read, but oh my god, I'm going to do it on audio because I love listening to Jamaican patois. It just makes me melt into a puddle on the floor. So the page 112 tag really works in terms of my first choice, but I'm very surprised by my second choice because it is a famous Canadian novel. I haven't read it. I've read others by her, but this is a Margaret Lawrence novel, A Jest of God. And so I think that could be just a fluke. I don't remember her fiction being so dialogue heavy. It could be, the way it worked out. Because I haven't read Margaret Lawrence for years. I've talked about her on this channel before. She's a much loved writer in Canada. And I was surprised even that Steve Donahue knew and apparently liked or loved her, because I didn't know if her popularity crossed the border. I read A Stone Angel when I was a teenager. I was too young to read it, but I remember I really liked it. And I read a book of short stories, A Bird in the House. I think I studied it as an undergrad. I quite liked it, but I've never read anything else by her. So I will definitely give A Jest of God a try, and I'll flip through it to see if it's so dialogue heavy all the way through. But no, she's a wonderful writer. And book number 3, which was my second pick, I've never heard of the title or the author. The title is Julius Winsome, and the author is Gerard Donovan. So I'm going to find out about this one. So the first thing that I found out is that Gerard Donovan's debut novel, Schopenhauer's Telescope, was longlisted for the Booker. Before his first novel was published, he was known as a poet. Apparently the story gets started with this man living in the wilderness, and his dog is accidentally shot and killed by hunters. And he is a former sharpshooter, presumably in the military, and this tragedy triggers all kinds of perhaps PTSD or certainly memories and causes him to want to seek revenge. So that's the basic premise of the story. That premise doesn't work for me particularly, but I am intrigued by what little I've just found out about the author, Gerard Donovan. He was a poet. Certainly it's a shapely piece of writing. His first book was nominated for the Booker. So yeah, I will look more into that one as well. So how about you? Which of these would you have chosen, or which of these do you choose? And what? Tell me why in the comments. If you're ever interested in sending me a bunch of page 112s, or if you are a booktuber and you'd like to do an exchange like I did with Ollie Bliss a few days ago, that would be awesome too. I have, how many do I have left? I think I have 2 batches left of page 112s. And one that has been promised to me. So I don't want to do more than 1 or 2 a week, so I'm not in a big rush for them, but I certainly would welcome anybody who wants to send some to me. Have you read any of these books? I'd never heard of Gerard Donovan. Have you? Have you read any Margaret Lawrence? A Brief History of 7 Killings is a Marmite book. People either love or hate it. I have a feeling I'm going to like it. And I know that the patois is a challenge on the page for non-Caribbean readers. But I'm going to try to find the audio, which will help with that. And I love listening to a Jamaican accent. So, that's today's video. Thanks for watching.